welcome back to the Reach In Talk Show where we're talking all things life and wellness. Well, y'all, you did it. We completed season 1 and we're starting season 2. Yes, you all helped make that happen. And now that we're launching season 2, I'm so excited because we're getting ready to go into the voting season. And you all know, I know some of you all are still on the fence about voting, but your vote really does matter. Your vote counts. But sometimes if you don't know better, you don't do better. And there's a lot of changes that need to happen in our communities, but it's going to take you and your representatives to make that happen. And today, as our guest, our special guest today, this young man, he amazed me. Not just with what he said, but what I learned he's already done, which is kind of rare in the political realm. However, without further ado, I want to introduce to you all Mr. Lloyd Ford.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I there was no doubt you were coming to sit and have this conversation with me and our audience, because there is so many things that I believe we're ignorant to that we need to be educated about. But before we get into all that political stuff, we want to learn a little bit about you. So where are you from? Talk to us.
Originally, my name is Lloyd Ford again. I'm from 3rd Ward, Texas. Grew up in Houston, Texas, over here. Went to Jack Yates High. I did go to school for 2 years, got a football scholarship, went to school in North Dakota, believe it or not.
Okay.
But then I ended up transferring and going back to Prairie View is where I graduated from.
PV,
You know. Got my degree in Management Information Systems.
Okay.
So computers, basically. I did corporate, IT for a number of years.
Okay.
So that was kind of my big stardom on, going to school, get education, get a good job. That was kind of the things that my parents told, that's what you need in order to be a success.
Right.
So those were the steps that I took.
Well, yeah, they, our parents, that was their generation. My parents as well, go to school, get education. Go to college so you can get a good job, a good pension.
A good pension.
And their pension is now pension.
Right.
Okay, so it's not really, okay. Okay, so you went to school, you're educated. That's always good to have an educated brother on the set. Yes. Also, so what about family? Are you married?
Yep, I've been married.
Situationship? I mean, what is it?
I'm married. Actually, me and my wife went to Yates.
Okay.
We've been together for 17 years now, believe it or
Wow.
not. So almost half my life.
Really? You look about 17, 18, but okay, go ahead. Okay, we're going to let you got a wifey, okay.
Yeah, got a wifey. So I'm 35, just so people know.
Okay.
But we've been in no kids yet.
Okay.
We plan to. She's a teacher, so we definitely have a passion with dealing with kids, dealing with the youth.
All right.
That's probably like my biggest home life. I got 2 sisters and a brother. They all doing their own respective things.
Okay.
Are
they younger, older?
I got 2 younger sisters and 1 older brother.
Okay.
So I'm always trying to get them involved more in this community stuff outside of what our job is and do more community stuff. But there's still always a uphill battle. We got to let people know what opportunities come with working with the community.
Okay.
Even our own family.
Right. That's a conversation we're not going to fully dive into today because we don't have that much time.
For sure.
However, okay, so you're educated, you have some accolades there, and then you're a family man, but you're a businessman also?
For sure.
Okay.
We open our own businesses. We open our own beauty supply store. It was called the Black Store Beauty Supply Experience.
Okay.
We own our own credit card systems where we redirect those fees back towards the community.
Okay.
I've had my real estate license. We do a lot of IT and a lot of, social media work. Okay. So I think we just kind of been a jack of all trades when it comes to entrepreneurship and, just showing people how to monetize your passion is what we call it.
Okay. I like that topic. Monetize your passion, because we have a lot of passionate people.
Sure.
One, especially in our communities, very passionate about a lot of things.
I mean, reason why we call it that because when we first started the store, we raised $100,000 just using a PowerPoint.
Right.
So everybody was coming and asking us, how do they do it? So I realized we said, bring us your business plan.
Right.
And everybody was bringing us business plans. I'm talking about
Right.
the most elaborate ideas with all the words, but it was no numbers.
Wow.
And we call it all passion, no plan.
Wow.
You know, so we realized that we had the passion in what we wanted to do, but we didn't really have an effective path on really how to get there. How do we build projections to go get the money?
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, I know some people I might need to connect you with.
Come on.
To help with that situation. Okay. Awesome. So, you're also an author.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you gave me this book, you asked me, was I a reader? I am a reader. I am.
Because I ain't wanted to sit on your mantle and collect dust.
Absolutely. wanted me to understand the assignment, huh? Read it.
If you're going to let it sit up, then I would have said pay for it. But
right.
But if you're going to use it and apply it, and through our conversation, I feel like you'll be a person to apply it. So I was like, let me give it to you, because the information is more important than the dollars we get from it.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else want to give me some books? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I believe in supporting. There's not a book I have not purchased from someone who wrote a book and told me about it. Because I believe when you sow seeds, you know, things, there comes a time of harvest. So I am myself completing some books for publishing as well.
Can't wait to read them.
So I'm expecting some things from that. But we'll talk about that. We're not talking about me today. We're talking about you. So, the name of this book, Our Black Agenda, A Guide to Black Power. Now, just reading this topic, it may be a little intimidating to some of our viewers, but you don't have to be intimidated. No. But you can get the book. He's going to tell you about how to get it later.
For sure.
And that way you can have a better understanding of the content, because there's some very interesting content in this book. Have not completed all of it, but I did start reading it. Okay. Because, number one, I told you I would. And immediately, as you see, I started highlighting.
I see.
Yes, I'm a reader for real. I don't play by, and I want to make sure your information is valid. So, legitimate information.
Right.
No fake news.
Lies.
No lies, no fake news. But before we get to Our Black Agenda, there were things that we talked about the other evening about our society, and I want to ask you a few questions about your perspective regarding the state of our communities.
Sure.
What is your perspective concerning the state of our communities?
To be honest, and that's what kind of motivates us to do the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say we. You'll rarely hear me say I, because it's more than just me.
Right.
And what I feel like the state of our community, I feel like we're passionate in a lot of things. But one thing I'm always thinking about is the future of our community, and how do we plan to work within it. And I think I'm always big on economics. How do we control our own? You'll hear us say power a lot, because we believe in having our own power. Right. And we understand that having our own power comes in economics, comes with understanding our education. So we always are going to refer to us being empowered in ourselves and in our own spaces. And so even in that book, I tell most people, you see the fist on there, but if you realize we don't talk about racism in the book, we don't talk about white supremacy in the book. Only thing we're talking about is solutions, the problems and the solutions that we need to do as a people. Right. And I think that's what we need to speak to more, on the solutions.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you on that, because I think what we do is, and there's an old African proverb that says that if there's no enemy within, then the enemy without can do us no harm. So just speaking to that perspective that, yes, there are a lot of challenges, but we have a lot of internal challenges.
For sure.
And when we become a healthy community for ourselves, it kind of helps strengthen us and it fortifies us against a lot of challenges that come externally.
Right. And you completely right. And one thing we say, as you see, I quote a lot about Dr. Amos Wilson, and what he says is all we have to do is change ourselves. If we change who we are, guess what? People got to change how they operate around us.
Right.
And so what I tell black people is, hey, all we have to do, we don't have to worry about anybody else. We don't have to talk about any other community. If we just change how we work with each other and how we view our communities and how we do things, people will have to change on how they work with around us. They can only be who they are if we stay who we are.
Ooh.
And as we change who we are, guess what? They got to change who they are.
See, I didn't bring my tissue today, but I was going to throw something at you when you said that. Preach, brother, preach, preach. I want to refer to your book right now when we're talking about power, and I did highlight that because I love the definitions, right? So, according to Dr. Amos Wilson, power refers to the ability to do, the ability to be, and the ability to prevail. The ability to do. Well, right there, there's a challenge. Because a lot of people talk about change, but not a lot of people are willing to stand up and invoke that same change.
For sure.
So the ability to be, when we don't know who we are, then we'll be whatever people say we are, right?
For sure.
And then the ability to prevail. Well, if we're not doing anything, we're definitely not prevailing in anything. No. And then you move further to say power is self-realization. And that's why I brought the first part up. Because if you don't have self-realization and self-actualization, you don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. So you definitely don't know what you need to do. So you definitely won't prevail. And so I just think that the content and the context by which these definitions were written was so valuable. And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to highlight that one. And it says, and the fulfillment of potential or possibilities. And it is essential to our existence that the most influential factor in determining our quality of life is about us recognizing our power and then maintaining and accessing and maintaining that power. So I'm that's why I say get the book, y'all. Y'all gonna have to get the book. That's at the beginning.
Right.
And if you think that's good, wait till you get through here. Let me tell you about another chapter. Hold on right quick. I'm going to cheat right quick. So, what is the art of domination? Yeah, I'm just, okay. I'm excited about the book. Y'all have to get the book yourself. But speaking to that power, when we're talking about community, because you're running for District D in Harris County, okay? In the city of Houston. And so when I read your card, and I got cheat notes, so you know it's my show, I can cheat.
Please cheat.
One of the things that caught my eye was not necessarily the community commitment and change, because you hear that from every candidate.
Right.
You hear that from every candidate. But it's your pillars here. You have 10. And I want you to kind of expound on these.
For sure.
Create technology empowerment centers throughout the district. Why create?
We have to create because, one, we realized during COVID, when it first started, even though we knew this was a prevailing problem, we realized that a lot of families didn't have internet at home, didn't have the technology at home, computers at home. We had kids trying to do work in the same HISD, they just gave one computer per family. So you had an elementary school, middle school student, and a high school student all trying to use the same computer. And we realized that not outside of technology and just your phones, but what type of information are they looking up? What type of technology and things do we have access to in our schools? In all our schools, a lot of HISD schools, we have 3D printers, but guess what? They go unused. So we talk about technology. We want to teach them an array of things that can push us forward for the future, not just the things that are happening right now. And that's how we have to look at it. Just having these things, and we don't think of it nothing, because I think most people have a phone, have internet of some sort. But now, how do we expand it to the people who are going outside of just fun? How are we using this technology to better our communities and a large thing? How are we teaching them to live with it? And I think we don't do that enough.
So why are the 3D printers going unused?
Nobody know how to use them.
Oh, because they haven't been taught.
Correct.
That's interesting. Okay, so I see the benefit of technology empowerment centers, and you're correct. And my challenge is, you brought up HISD, I did not. My challenge with that is, we know in wealthier communities within HISD that that's not a challenge, right?
For sure.
So taking the responsibility ourselves to make sure that our children are being trained, that the parents are being trained, that the community is being trained as a whole. That goes back to that self-actualization and coming back to rights, roles, and responsibilities for our own community.
Right.
Because unfortunately, what's that old saying said? We as a people, we're the last to know, but we're also the last to inquire.
For sure.
But I take it a step further. I say we're the last to inquire because a lot of times we don't know that that's something we need to know.
I say this: black people, as a people, we buy what we want and we beg for what we need. And so often, we don't have to tell people to, we're not begging for shoes, we're not begging for the fashion, we're not begging for fun. We beg for the necessities that we feel like we need in our lives to push further in our communities. When these would be things, like I say, if we just changed our behavior, we wouldn't have to beg for a lot of these things. If we just changed our behavior, we could demand a lot more things. And I think right now we only care about it's not delayed gratification. They want it right now.
Well, I believe that in order to change behavior, the belief system has to change.
For sure.
Because our belief systems determine our behavior. So we have, I think, your wife is an educator, you're an educator, we're all educators to some degree. And I believe that there's a dynamic within our culture that needs to be redirected. So
it is. And I would say when we talking about, that's why we take the city council a lot more serious. Because if you talk to most city council, when you talk about education, most of them will say, hey, that's not my job. These things, that's not my job. That's not my purview. And I think when we talk about being somebody over your community, guess what? Now we in charge of locations and things. And one of the things that we're going to do, even though I own a beauty supply store, we're going to have natural hair classes for the younger generation of girls coming up. Because not only do we want to show them to be more self-sufficient, but we want to change the culture of what we feel is important and what we feel like we need for a standard of beauty. And that starts young.
Yes.
And then we also going to have to do it for the parents.
Yes.
So we realize that it's a twofold thing: education and also application to what we're trying to do.
Yes, that's so good, so good. So you want to support local nonprofits to create more enrichment and summer programs.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk about that.
We realize in my district we have about 4 empty schools. One of the things that we're going to do is revamp these schools to house over 100 nonprofits. And the reason why we do that is because everybody knows somebody that have a nonprofit. How many people that know people that actually go get money for their nonprofit? Not a lot. So one thing we want to do is help people cut through the red tape of how good you can write a proposal, but the work that you're doing. So when we're supporting nonprofits, it's not going to be how good did you write your 50-page proposal, but we're going to base it on the work, the people that you're helping, how you helping them, who are you helping them, how often, where are you helping them at. And these are going to be the roadblocks and restrictions for people that's either you're going to be a part of us or you're not. And we want to hold people accountable for the work. And that's what we want to be. So not more on the title, you got a whole board, a CEO, CFO, but what are you doing for the kids, or what are you doing for the community or grown-ups?
And it's interesting because that, to me, that's integral human relations. Integral. And I say that because, I have a challenge with the government because people are doing the work and they allocate funds in places they rather, give it to the people who have all the funds to rather help support the ones who really making more impact. I'm a witness to, I've worked in nonprofit industry for a long time, and I am a witness to meeting just to write some names down on a piece of paper and doing the minimal just so that you can have enough numbers so that you can continue gaining funding opportunities.
For sure.
And so I really value the fact that you all see the barriers and see beyond the barriers so the barriers can be removed. And to me, that's called vision. That's true vision, because vision, and I liken that to faith. People say faith is blind, but I don't believe faith is blind. I believe faith sees more.
For sure.
And you have to see beyond the barriers and the restrictions. What can we do to just move beyond the hurdles so we can stop having these excuses why I can't be successful, why I can't move forward.
And it's funny you say that, because what we do when we dealing with the youth now, we deal with a lot of scholars, and one thing we talk about along with faith comes confidence in yourself.
Yes.
And what we try to tell even the youth, and what we spoke about the other day, is we want people to attribute their we never want you to attribute your failings to your ability.
Yes.
You always attribute your failings to your effort. I didn't try hard enough. I could have done more. And then when you succeed, guess what? I'm good at this. And too often do we see, not only with students but grown-ups, when they can't do something, they say, well, I'm not good at that.
Right.
And that's something that's been bred in our communities. No, we good at that. We good at math. We good at reading. We good at these things. We just didn't give enough effort in making ourselves the best that we can be at it. So that's what we want people to attribute your failings to your effort.
Right.
Knowing that you didn't try hard enough.
And also the assistance of the efforts of others.
For sure.
Because when I just look at let's just say, for example, a young person who really wants to learn math, but they weren't able to gain the concept, and you didn't have the person that was supposed to have been educating them take the time and patience. And I can say that most people know me. I was overachiever, I was a scholar, I was a straight A student, but math, I loved math. But that was a time when I kind of came to a stagnation because I couldn't get the concept. And let me tell you what I did. My teacher, bless her heart, she was the alumni president, and she spent more time during our last periods handling all of that than in the classroom. Well, I was so afraid that if I was going to go to college, and I was going to be one of the people that did not understand my work because I didn't get it in school. She tried to give me a passing grade for my finals. I refused it.
Wow.
So I repeated Algebra 2, B. Yes, I did. I did that on purpose because I did not want, all I kept thinking is, I cannot move forward and end up in college and be the one that don't know. But not a lot of people are like me.
Oh no, that's self accountability right there. We barely want that, on things that we wanted from, let alone things like school.
Right. But I was saying that because in reference to, not enough effort, because sometimes I think we keep saying you haven't put in enough effort, but there's a such thing as training and teaching.
Oh, for sure.
And when teachers don't put in the right amount of effort with children too, you give up on them and you tell them, oh, y'all ain't gonna never learn this, and things of that nature, then we have to be careful what we say. Because words are powerful. And if a child is discouraged, and I remember my son when he was in school, teachers are taught to teach from different angles, audibly, visually, all of that. But if you just look at this child, maybe that child learns better audibly. Maybe that child is a visual learner. These are things that you teach even at the corporate level. So why not at this level with children, And I think that, let me tell you, hats off to teachers because they have a hard job these days. Just the politics within the school systems by themselves, especially in inner city schools. Yes. Is an oppression to educators, and it's not right and it's not fair, and they really need better advocacy because their teachers unions suck. Definitely. So I said that out loud for the people in the back. The teachers union has sold out the teachers.
It's been seconded.
Okay, well, all right then. I got my brother with me today, but we have to. I think we need to how shall I say it? I think we need to review or reassess some of the methodologies that we've provided for young people because one of the things I know in legislation, and we talked about this, I forgot what part of legislation, but there was a proposal for over, I believe it was like $2.2 billion to revamp maybe some enrichment programs or reformation programs for youth versus detention centers, and they chose detention centers. Right. So this part about having local nonprofits to, for the enrichment and summer programs, that's big for me because when I was in school, you had after school programs. Right. You had the times when we went on field trips so we can explore more than just was right in front of us, like you talked about earlier. Right. So, and I know you got a lot on here, and I'm gonna run through them. But this is big. This is major to me because after school programs helped a lot of kids stay out of trouble.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It helped build character in them. And
I mean, like they said, and I think it was a study held in the 1980s. You know, you could spend $2,500 for a Head Start program, or you could spend $38,000 to send them to prison. And just like Jesse exactly said, you can send them to Penn State or State Penn.
Right.
You know, and I think we start making that determination. You know, they say in the 3rd grade they building cells for
school to prison pipeline.
So,
let's go and put it out there.
Yeah,
the school to prison pipeline. And a lot of people are not aware of the school to prison pipeline.
No.
And yes, they prefer State Penn because that's why a lot of prisons, there's a lot of privatization going on, because the bottom line is our children is worth money to them.
For sure.
So their lack of success equals dollars.
Right.
So a lot of things that are happening, even what's happening in HISD right now. Why would you remove librarians? They started moving counselors first.
Right.
They're moving librarians, and you're going to now create detention classes in the library. And my understanding is that there are more financially savvy schools that are building new bookshelves for new books, but that's not happening in our inner city schools.
Not at all.
And that's a challenge for me, but that's going to be another show.
For sure.
So my point is, I appreciate that being part of your platform.
Right.
So let me go through a few more before we go to break. Support and advocate for civilian representation on police review boards.
Correct. Right here in Harris County, they do have a police review board, but guess what? The police review board is only made up of old DAs, judges, other people that have been a part of that political structure and system.
Yes.
It's not made up of real people.
Yeah.
And I can say this on here, we couldn't get not one city councilman. Guess what? We have more black city councilmen than we ever had before. And we couldn't get more than one city council person to even raise their hand to have a talk about a public review board. Only person that would even raise their hand to have a conversation about it was Letitia Plummer.
Wow.
At large, I believe, position 4. And she was the only person that even would raise her hand to have a conversation. No other city council person would even raise their hand to even talk about putting real people on the police review board.
And, and it's interesting because I served at one time, especially when they were talking about big on community policing. I actually served, that was an organization called the Police and Clergy Alliance. You would know it as PACA. And the purpose of PACA was to bring police and clergy together to build that bridge with the community. But with that, there was a lot of internal deprivation going on, and there was an assignment to annihilate that. And I was able to recognize it, but as a result, I ended up serving as the interim chair for that organization. But right now, as I know it, remember it was Police and Clergy Alliance. But the people who take the lead in this now is just police. And how is it an alliance when you have someone that's superior? That's not an alliance. That's not a partnership. And if the community can't bring, things to the table and the dominant force is one person, that's not an alliance.
At all.
That's not. So, and I put that out there because I have a challenge with that. And they know me. So, and I don't care about it, but there are things that are happening that we need to address more of. And so that whole police review board, I think that is amazing. And I think what will happen is the gaps will be bridged between the community when we have that, because we can actually have true transparency.
For sure. I haven't even talked about with subpoena power or nothing yet, but that is something that we also want to add to that. We don't want this to be a toothless entity at the same time, but we know when we start talking about subpoena power that we definitely scare some folks. But that's definitely always the end goal of what we're doing is power and accountability in what we're building. We want this to be something sustainable. I'm not here to build something and then when I leave that it can be tore down. We want to build something long-standing and sustainable, and if we can't do that, then it don't need to be even built in the first place. And one thing we say, if most of these programs and nonprofits had to prove effectiveness, they would be obsolete.
And I agree.
one thing, that's what we tell people. People always be like, oh, Republican people on the other side, what they don't do, people don't like to fund useless projects and useless organizations and useless things that we're doing. And that's what they see a lot of the left-leaning and Democratic people do. We give out a lot of money. We spend a lot of money. But where is it effectively going, and who is it helping?
Right, and that's the importance of review boards and things of that nature, because it brings more levels of accountability to the action or the inaction.
For sure.
But we're going to talk a little bit more. Y'all, we have Mr. Lloyd Ford with us, but we'll talk a little bit more with him when we return.
As we advance in years, most of us will need a little help with daily activities. Modern Vintage Home Care is here to provide support to our seniors and their families. Our experienced caregivers are compassionate and ready to help. Whether personal care or handyman services, we're here for you. Call today to learn how we're redefining quality care.
Welcome back to Reach In Talk Show with your girl, your host, the Dr. Nicole Lynette, where we talk all things life and wellness. And if you heard the first part of the show, it might be getting a little heated up in here, because we're talking about community and change and things that need to take place. Because if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same results. But we have to change up the programs, and we have someone here that's very equipped to help us unpack all of that. And again, for those who may not have caught us earlier, we have none other than the Mr. Lloyd Ford, candidate for District B, Houston City Council, with us today. So, back to it.
What you got?
So we kind of went over some things earlier about what's on your platform. I just encourage people to actually visit your website.
For sure. And
that's Lloyd Ford. You can just kind of read his shirt to read, spell his name. Lloyd Ford, the number 4 change.com, because you can find out more about his platform. It is an amazing platform, and it's a platform of accountability, integrity, and transparency. And that's why I'm so excited about this gentleman. And I love his quote. His quote is, "The time is now." I mean, why we have to put off tomorrow the things we can do today? Because the more we delay, the more things, won't happen for tomorrow.
For sure.
And there are some things of urgency that we need to really deal with. And you all, in your campaign, you're dealing with that. But I want to go here. I might be a little devil's advocate right quick.
I ain't tripping.
But okay, so why you? What makes you different than the traditional candidate? I mean, why you?
One thing I can say is, we doing this out of necessity and duty. Even before I thought about running, I thought I would never run for anything political. We thought we could just find people to run and we would support them. But in my race, when a lot of the grassroots organizers didn't want to take up that mantle and run with it, that's when I threw my hat in the ring. Okay. So I say it's always out of necessity and duty, not that we want to be a political person. But one thing I say that we're always doing that's different is we already work on our replacements and people that's coming up behind us, so we can help them through this path. But also because we're people of solutions.
Okay.
And we're always going to be focused on what the grassroots and what the people need, not what the lead. And, we don't have any, like I say, we don't have no overlords that's pulling our strings on what we need to do in the community. Okay. What we do is always about the people.
And then I find that to be interesting because you are a native Houstonian and you grew up in your district.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Okay. So even with that, and we hear you. You're different. You already, you've already taken action before you started even thinking about
for sure
throwing your hat into the ring. So with that being said, just not meaning to stir the pot, but I mean, what kind of things did the city councilman do before you?
To be honest, and I was talking to somebody about this today, and one thing, nobody has done anything, not in my lifetime, significant to change the status or the situation for black people. Everybody that went in there goes and do the same thing, go and do the same steps, and take the same approach to politics. You know, low transparency when it comes to the community. No real power being built in sustainable levels for black people. And as you see right now, everybody that come in there, they're scared to say black people, we doing this for black people. Everybody come in and say black and brown, which is fine. But one thing about it is we as black people are the only people that are inviting other people of other races within our inner circle. Nobody else does that. We are the ones that feel like we need to be more inclusive, but with that inclusivity, we also giving up power of what we're trying to do.
Right. And I think that's an intimidating factor I think we're passive. Let me just say that.
For sure.
Because passivity wants to stroke everybody else. We don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
We don't want, and just like you stated, I remember I was being hired for a position within HISD. First thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, they did not want to pay me. Okay? And then there are some other factors, but I remember visiting with not the manager, because the manager was like, yeah, we'll wait on you, whatever we need to do to get you here. Right? Because he valued me. But at the end of the day, I told him we're not going to, continue this process because I don't work for anybody.
Right.
So, but I wanted to, because I love their program. They had a program that I just really saw value in. And I'm saying that to say this, that it was 2 representatives from the brown community. And where he was like, let's get you in. I told them, I'm good. I'm not going to take the position. But because I was so dedicated and so encouraged about what they were doing, I said, but I'm going to bring you the resources. I want to meet with you to give you all the resources that I would have given you if I was employed by you. Because that's how much I want your program to succeed. Well, he invited someone else, and it wasn't him, but the person he invited in. After sharing that information with them, she stated, oh, well, I just have to be frank. I should have knew something was wrong then. She was like, so Dr. Well, she called me by my last name. Dr. Bird, what was really your intentions for coming here today? I was like, excuse me? I said, to bring you all resources. I didn't need anything from you. I came bringing gifts. And I saw that it was a position of intimidation. And I'm saying that because what you just stated is, it's nothing wrong with us being inclusive, because we all need each other. I talk about Harriet Tubman all the time. The Underground Railroad would not have been as successful had there not been other people of other cultures to assist. However, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. And that, unfortunately, threatens not just other cultures, but it threatens people within our own culture.
I think it's more, like you say, I think it's more of our mind. And that's why I tell people my love for my people, black people, doesn't make me want to deprive another community of their resources.
Right.
And I think that's been okay for so many other people other than black people. You know, white people can be about their community and still represent black people and black communities. Hispanic people can be about their community and love, their heritage and still represent everybody. But when it comes to black people and say you want to do something for black people, I don't know. You just can't go in there and say you just for black people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I have a love and I understand that my people needs a higher level of need and help. And so guess what? I'm going to help them. That doesn't now make me go say, hey, I need to take money from over here, from y'all community, and reallocate it. No, what y'all got is what y'all got. Now I need to see how now I can add more to our community, add more programs. And guess what? Our needs are different than your needs. So, and guess what? By me making our community, the black community, stronger and better, guess what? Your community is going to be strong and better because as we see, brown and black, we are living within the same communities. So guess what? As I get our people and our culture straight, everybody is going to be better from it. But that trickle-down effect only goes good when you're talking about other communities trickling down to us, not us trickling down to them.
And I agree with you. I've listened to a show. I'm not going to say what show it is, but it's a Hispanic show. And the only people they bring on is their Hispanic brothers and sisters that are successful to talk to their communities. And so all I look at that is self-actualization, self-realization, and empowerment. And I believe every community should do the same thing within their communities. Because just like, the mayor talks about these communities here in the city, well, no community is strengthened, no more strengthened than its weakest community. Period. So you can keep overlooking these communities all you want to, but I don't care how strong they say this city is no stronger than its weakest community.
Right.
So the best thing to be fortified all the way around is to make sure everyone is empowered, everyone is strengthened, and everyone is built up and have that self-actualization and all of that.
For sure.
So with that, I have a question. What can people do? What can the people do? Because I'm real big on, representatives are supposed to represent the position of the people.
Right.
What can the people do? You're running for office, but what can the people? We know what you can do for the people, but what can the people do for you to help
facilitate that? What I tell people, I don't need you to do what I'm doing. Right. I'm already doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Every time, I don't need everybody going around saying, hey, vote Lloyd forward. Sometimes we need you where you are.
Right.
What I tell people is be strong in the area that you are in. Whether that be know who your city council person is, know who your representatives are.
Right.
That way, when we come to your area, we don't have to start from scratch to now develop relationships, develop all these different things and the problems of your community. Because we've been having community meetings every second Monday from 7 to 8 since 2017.
Wow.
And out of these, we had as many as, I want to say, 70, 80 people coming per meeting. And one thing we realized through all those people, and these are the people that wanted to be involved, wanted to be engaged. 90% of these people couldn't name their local official, couldn't name their city council person, couldn't name their state rep. And these are people that want to be involved.
Right.
So we start thinking about, what about the normal person that's not being involved?
Right.
What are the things that they know? And we realized that it wasn't much. So that was another reason for writing the book. We wanted to restate our position when people say, hey, who is Lloyd for? What are the things that he's thinking about?
Right.
What are the things that he cares about? What are the things that he believes is a problem? You can go see it for yourself.
Right.
What are things that we believe are solutions?
Right.
You can go see it for yourself.
And this is a powerful book. This is not, and what I really valued was when he shared with me that he had high schoolers to read this book. And when they read the book, there are questions in here to make sure they comprehend what they read. Sure. Now, we're talking about students, high school students, but adults in our community. This is a valuable resource because it talks about things like knowing what each elected officials' roles and responsibilities are. You talk about the governor, which I'm having a real hard time with this school HISD thing because I don't understand why a superintendent only reports to the governor. That's a challenge, but y'all hear more about that soon. But what roles? What does the Attorney General do? What are their roles and responsibilities? And if we learn this, then maybe we can maneuver a little bit differently and we can make more informed decisions.
For sure.
And even with judges, what do they do? What is the purpose? Because a lot of times, a lot of people go and they vote for the large election, but when it comes down to the local elections and judges and things of that nature, they don't vote. You have, very minimal turnout.
For sure.
And I believe it's because of ignorance.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, and that's going to be another thing that we break down: the civil, the criminal courts, the family courts, and let you know how all these things in courts affect you. Right. And again, these are not judges, pie in the sky, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. These are people that's right in your zip codes, right around you.
Yes.
And once we realize what made me really put the roles and responsibilities, in 1 year in 2018, I went to over 200 and something community meetings, from north side to the south side to east to west. And I realized that they had representatives coming in and they was asking questions of these people that wasn't their job description. And then we wonder why things didn't get done. And they wouldn't tell the people, hey, that's not my job. Right. They just say, okay, cool, let me take that in consideration. Then you'll realize nothing ever get done and you can't hold them accountable to it because all they can say is, that's not my job.
So you were asking the wrong person.
Correct.
For what you needed. Okay, so basically you're saying what the people can do is be empowered where they are.
For sure.
So that they can be gatekeepers when it's time for the connections.
For sure. Be a part of your civic club groups.
Yes.
The average age in our civic club groups in Harris County is like 65 to 70 years old. So these are the people that's making decisions or the gatekeepers of your community, and we don't know who these people are.
Right.
So we implore you to get involved, and that's the reason why we started building the websites for a lot of these civic club groups, because we don't want you to have an excuse when residents don't know what's going on. Guess what? Millennials, what's the first thing they do? Is Google you.
Right.
So when they Google this civic club, we want you to be able to find when the meetings are, how you can be involved, what are some of the things that they're already doing.
Okay.
So this is just another level of accountability and visualization for people that want to be involved.
Okay, so then how do they find out what their civic clubs are? How do they find that information?
To be honest, you can go to the city of Houston. You can type in civic clubs, city of Houston. And when you go there, you can put in your zip code. Okay. And they'll tell you what which civic club you belong to.
Okay.
And that's the easiest way for you to find out.
Okay.
And it's over 200-300 civic clubs here in Houston, Harris County.
Okay. And we have so much that needs to change. Okay. So here's a question I want to ask you this. So you have this fire, you have this passion, you have this action. You're actionary. You're not inactive. You are active. You make things happen. You're a change agent. Where did that inspiration come from?
To be honest, it came from a large fact of you knowing better, then you got to do better. And I took that accountability to myself. What did I need to do? And then I had an older gentleman tell me one time, he say, hey, when someone has a lane and they won't let you be first in, create a lane that you can be first in. And so this is us creating our own lane when we seen ourselves being locked out by the traditional system. And this is us creating our own lane for change and what we want to do and how we want to do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, I'm big on if people don't give you opportunity to create your own. Same thing being said, different words. So if they don't give you a platform, create your own platform. I'm all in.
Look, I had a job that they didn't want to pay me, like you say. I applied for another job on the same floor. And I told them, hey, thank you for the job, but thank you, but no thank you. I was going to take the other job. You know, they called me and told me, you quit a lower paying job to come back and get a higher paying job, so we can't hire you.
Oh.
And at that point, I said I'll be a fool to leave my fate in other people's hands.
Yes.
And so that's why we started the work of independence and all these entrepreneurial efforts that we do.
Yes. So, Mr. Ford, and you have my dad's namesake, Lloyd. My dad's name is Lloyd.
Must be a great name.
Yes, he is absolutely great. It's been an honor to have you here. You are such a value to so many people. And in our closing, I want you to do a few things. First, tell them how they can reach you.
Okay. You can always reach us at Lloyd Ford, the number 4 for change. You can just Google Lloyd Ford. You can Google Creative Group Economics. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just Google us and you'll be able to find what we're doing. Okay. Or just come to the H and we here.
Yeah, because he's doing so much, so we can't put it all in this segment. Before you go, I want you to, because there are young people that watch our show, and they're millennials, they're Gen Zers, all of that. If you can give them an encouraging word, what would that be?
One thing I would always say is what we're building is for you. All the infrastructure, all the things we're doing is to make your life easier. And when you see all the things that's happening, we want you to do the same thing for the people behind you. And so we want to create a culture that shows a partnership of collaboration with our communities, with our people, and know that, hey, everything that we're doing, we're going to do it. And guess what? Everything that you're putting out of fire, we may not see it to the end. But guess what? We okay with it when we know who's carrying the mantle. So we just want to let the young people know everything that we build in, we're doing for you to build in. And if you see us, we always say your skin is your ticket in. And what we want to do is have this built in, so when you come see us, you can have the passion, you can have the plan, and you can have the ability to succeed in the way that you want to succeed.
Yes, and all I heard was the prophet. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us today. I know there's something that you can take back, and I hope that you got mad enough to do something to make a difference. And I hope that you've been stirred up and you cannot sleep until you begin to do the work that you need to do to be the example of better. And this again is Reach In Talk Show. We'll see you again.